is like when you when you're a young fighter and you think like you're invincible. The game's going to be around forever, and I can continue doing this for forever. And what is like something like your advice to like a younger fighter who's maybe done something in the sport, but what's your advice to like start looking to well, I wouldn't say move on, but start the transition out of it because I think that's something
Uh,
a lot of guys struggle with, myself included,
oh,
right? There's obvious signs of when you should, but I think like a lot of guys hold on to it because, like you said, it's the only thing they know for X amount of years, and it's a scary thing to think about moving on. So, like, what would
yeah.
be your advice to younger guys or even guys that are on the tail end that they should look out for?
Yeah, and I say this line all the time to people, and it's that a fighter dies twice. So you die when you retire, and then you wait around until you die again. And
Yeah,
it sounds really sad. And that's how my life feels sometimes because I wasn't prepared for the end. So I think everyone that gets involved in it, said whether you're just getting going, you're in the middle, or at the peak of your career, or someone who's coming off the tail end, everyone should have a plan. And I talk about this quite a bit with my young guys. I'm like, if you have the work ethic to become a good fighter, a good athlete, a good competitor, and an entertainer,
yeah,
that takes a lot of work and a lot of skill, and it takes a lot of brains. If you have all those things, you should be putting that effort into something else at the exact same time as you're competing.
yeah,
Because as much as training and fighting is a 24-hour a day job, it's not. You got, you know what I mean?
yeah,
There's a few hours of practice a day and then eating the right things and this and that. I'm like, okay, so yeah, you could be working a dead end job to pay the bills and just so you can fight, or you could be fucking hauling ass, getting a trade done, going to school, doing all the right choices. So when your career does wind down, you're already sitting on a career. You know what I mean? You're not looking for what to do next. Like I said, if you have the work ethic and the skill to be good at this, you have it to be good at anything.
yeah,
So you really should be like, from the moment you get going, you should be planning for what's afterwards. Because no matter how good you are, if you're the elite in the world, it ends. And it could end tomorrow on the mats when you hurt your knee or you
yeah,
get knocked out in practice or something bad happens. It could end any day. So you need to, from the moment you decide you want to do it for real, you need to be planning something else at the same time. Like I said, get an education, invest your money properly, do a trade. It doesn't matter. Be planning for the future because, let's say, even if you crack the top 10 or become world champion, it's going to stop. The money's going to stop coming in. So
yeah,
you gotta, and you don't want to. Listen, the end of my career, I thought I was invincible. The end of my career kind of came as a surprise because I hurt my neck really bad, and then
yeah,
I was just lost after that. Fortunately, I had my gym started already, and it just kind of started growing. But like I understand that feeling, and I wasn't done yet. I wasn't done yet, and like that's the problem with fighting is like the thrill is so amazing
yeah,
that it's so hard to let go of. So you get cut from a big show, you go back to the regionals, keep trying to get back there, chasing the dragon, and like it hardly ever happens, right? That's why you never see anyone go out on top,
yeah.
right? You can only think of a couple people that have done it. Everyone else falls off. They try to get it back, and eventually they're just,
That's why I
they
hope
disappear.
Khabib never comes back. I hope
He won't. I don't believe he will.
he's the example for some people where like achieve the pinnacle of your profession and then call it a day.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
and it's funny that you gave that advice because my strength and conditioning coach said the same thing to me. He said like, Ashton, you're involved in one of the hardest things a human being can do in terms of sport and in life in general. Like fighting is just it's outrageous. But he's like, if you can do that, if you can apply that work ethic to anything else, and it's only like when the COVID crap happened, that's pretty much what I did. I applied it to other
Mm,
stuff, and if I can give that advice to other people too, it's don't put your all your eggs in one basket because
mm,
eh, even though I'm still active and still planning on competing, like for me, my journey was a lot of injuries, right?
mm,
And
mm.
and it was one after the other, and it wasn't like anything that was my fault. It was like some of it was overtraining, but in MMA, it's hard to like not overtrain. Like,
Yeah.
like there's so many things you have to do, and for me, it was the guilt thing. You know, when you're at home, like you already put in one session, but you're absolutely fucking dead, like you're tired. But in your head, you're like, oh, I gotta go back to the gym later and train more.
Yeah.
When you know, and then so one of the things I'm learning as I get older is like if I even have to ask that question or say that to myself, it's probably a good idea to stay the fuck home, right?
Man, that's the hardest part, man. Like, and especially the older you get, like your rest is just as important as the time you put on the mats. So
Yeah,
spend it wisely, man. Mental maturity is everything. I still struggle with that. Like, still train 2 a days just because I'm an idiot. It
yeah,
doesn't do me any good. It just keeps me from killing people. You know what I mean? So
yeah. But
it's
like,
true.
if I could give any advice, anyways, if you ever have to be like, should I go to the gym? You should probably fucking stay home.
Yeah.
If you have that nervous energy, go for a jog or lift some weights. But like sometimes I have to. I'll ask my wife. I'll like call her. I'll be on the road. I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna go to the gym now, but I don't really feel like going to the gym. She's like, well, you have to come home then. I'm like,
Mm.
no, I don't want to come home. She's like, Ashton, if you even said that, that means that's. She's like 90% of the time when you say that, I get a call later being like, I'm on the way to the hospital because I heard something. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I know. What? It's the classic. One more beer. Yeah. No, I get it. Um, yeah. So I'll give you. So going back to your question there, I'm like, plan for the future. Of course, that's huge, right? Listen to your body, and very important is now something we never did. Is educate yourself on your injuries. We always just tough shit out my generation, and for what? Now everything's broken, right?
Yeah.
Something's wrong. Go have it checked out. Figure out the fix. You mean see if is it really worth it? I've broken my neck. Was it worth it? No, yeah, it was. But was it worth it? Probably not. You know what I mean? It's like but there's so many things that you could, if we approach them from the get go instead of putting them off, you could prolong those careers. Think about the injuries you had from overtraining. If you didn't, right? You'd have years stacked on the other side of your career, but you put
Every,
your foot on the gas when you didn't need to, and that's what happens,
every
right?
every one of my injuries, I was in the gym when I shouldn't have been in the gym. Like, and I'm open about it because I want other people to learn
Hmm.
from my mistakes. Like when I tore my ACL the first time, I had done a full MMA practice, and I'm like, oh, let me stay for jujitsu class. Yeah, that was a
Hmm.
fucking wrong decision. You just put in an
Yeah,
hour and a half of hard MMA training, and what ended up happening was a judo throw happened, and I tore my ACL. Right,
yeah, every time.
and
Yeah,
then I recovered from that, and I went on and fought, and then I made my pro debut, and then I was fucked up from my pro debut because I herniated a disc in my back like 2 weeks before the fight. So then that was like in December, and then in January, I'm like, oh, let me get back into it, right? And it was the same thing. I'm training, 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 and then I decide, oh, let me go to the gym on a Saturday and do some sparring. Even though I was dead tired and my back was hurting from still, I didn't address that issue, right? I just fought with it. And what happened again? Judo throw, partially tear
yeah,
my ACL again, right? You know what I mean? Every
yeah,
injury, every time I've had a surgery, I can tell you I shouldn't have been in the gym that day. Like
yeah,
I tore my pec, same thing. I told my
yeah,
I came home from work. I told my wife, I'm like, I don't feel like sparring today, but I'm gonna go because people were expecting me to be. No one would fucking care if I wouldn't be there, right? But then I got there, tore my fucking pec, right?
yeah.
So, uh, if there's one thing we can tell anybody that listens to this thing is, if your body says no, listen to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'll give you one more because I know there's a lot of people like me with dealing with different fighters and athletes, and people like me, or maybe potentially you over the years. And like me fighting my whole life has been to a. It always looks like I'm chasing something or I'm running away from something. It's hard to tell. But a lot of people like me, we get into this fighting and whatever else is because we're running, and for me it was because I had traumatic experiences as a child,
Yeah.
and some bad shit happened to me throughout my childhood and all sorts of different things, and I've suffered from PTSD for many years, and martial arts and fighting and everything else has always been my escape for that, right? And fighting is what made things where it's calm for me and where it's relaxed. And like I said, we like any drug, we use it to escape from
Escape. Yeah,
things from our past, right? And now the problem, big part of the problems I'm having in my life is I didn't address those things. I just buried it with competition and fighting. And now like fighting's actually over, and things that I didn't take care of, uh, when I was a younger person and whatever, or didn't know how to, now they've all caught up, and I've really got to like face some serious fucking demons and some past stuff. Right. And I think that that's one of those things, just like injuries, man, we really got to like learn to address these problems, injuries, like whether it's external or internal. You gotta like look at your life and fix yourself as a man or a woman, because you can't run from shit forever, right? Everything comes to an end, and this is my drug and your drug and whatever else. And one day you're not going to be able to use it to cover up and hide from the things that
yeah.
you buried down the side. So just what's one more thing? If you've got some shit that's in from your past or things you need to repair, don't wait, man. Don't wait. It's not going to get any easier, right? And then, because when this ride's over, man, life's really hard already. So if you got things that have been haunting you, you better have already fucking taken care of them.